Hello, welcome. You are here, if you're not sure, for the variable masterclass, moving from leftness to rightness. If you are part of the Matriarchs of Design experience, a special welcome to you. You're diving into all 6 of these masterclasses. If you are just diving in for this one, there is lots of goodies in store in this masterclass as well. If you don't have your human design chart handy, I do recommend that you grab it. You may even want to have available some charts of family members or friends that you might have, because this could be a very illuminating masterclass for you today. We're going to be diving into variable, specifically on the design side. Just going to keep it real tight. All right, I'm going to share my screen because I have some slides, particularly for all the visual learners out there, and it allows me to stay a lot more structured when I'm delivering these presentations. So let me share my screen. Now you see what I'm listening to on Spotify. All right, let's get this presentation up and going. Okay, so variable, also known as the arrows on the human design body graph. Just want to get rid of that. Yeah, perfect. Let's go back one. Perfect. All right. First day of Mercury going direct after a couple of weeks. So just ironing out all the kinks. So variable, variable, variable. These are the arrows around the head in the human design body graph. I remember when I had my first human design reading, and looking back, it's very easy to see the areas that analysts and readers just have all the best intentions, but there is so much available in this system. And I think that there is always a tendency to give too much. And certainly in my first reading, I remember the analyst saying to me, oh, those arrows are just the primary health system, they're primary health stuff or something. I remember it so clearly, but it didn't really mean anything to me at the time until, gosh, about a year and a half later, I actually came across the primary health system through Ra's voice, and something really landed in me. And variable is a huge part of the primary health system, and it's a huge part of the substructure and deeper work that unfortunately Ra really only just started to teach at the level he really desired to teach it in the last few years before he passed away in 2011. So it's a big part of the human design system that really remains quite unrecognized, unfortunately, has kind of got a little bit stuck. And I really feel this this need to share this work a little bit more broadly, because particularly for projectors and particularly for projectors such as myself, primary health and variable is going to add such an interesting, important layer to your human design experiment. So this is not just about variable. Everything I try to bring forth, particularly within the Matriarchs of Design experience, it's really about this activation and an immersion into understanding this whole underlying storyline of human design that goes far beyond the self-development surface stuff and the evolutionary pathway that this is all taking. So what we were was left, strategic, active, survival, tribal orientated. I think we can all, that resonates with all of us, this kind of more primal idea of our history, of where we've come from. And this was also very cross of planning. So from 1615, when we formally moved into the cross of planning, it's been all very left. Cross of planning has all been about the bargain, the good of the collective, looking after the tribe, that lens, and building systems and structures where everybody's taken care of, very kind of strategic and focused and active, building, building, building. Since 1781, rightness has been starting to grow and move through our vehicles, and we're moving into an era of rightness. And this is culminating really beautifully with this shift into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is happening in 2027. And a whole series of events are going to be happening around that. But that's also where we're kind of moving into this rightness as we leave the cross of planning, which was very, very left. So it's an interesting extra layer that really provides this beautiful storyline that runs underneath the human design system that that I see and love about it. So let's keep going. All right, so what are we going to cover today? Sounds really bland and surface stuff, but we're going to keep that storyline weaving through, and also, of course, a look to the future. So what are the arrows on the body graph? We're going to talk about internal and external determination, left tonal fixing, right tonal fixing. There is a lot of language here, human design language, which is relevant and important. And of course, mutation and where we are going, my favorite parts. Okay, so variable arrows. This is what we're going to be talking about today, the design arrows. Variable is a complex topic in and of itself. And it is not my intention at all in this masterclass to talk about the personality aspects, the conscious arrows, variable. I should really stop calling them arrows because it's very limiting language. We're just going to focus on the design side. So these are your red arrows, your unconscious, your body side of your chart. That's what we're going to look at today. And if you are doing further self-study about the personality aspects, you can, of course, apply these principles to those aspects. But for the sake of a 1 hour maximum masterclass, we're just going to be looking at the design side. So when we are talking about design, we're talking about the vehicle and we're talking about primary health system. So variable is a really important component of the primary health system curriculum within the human design knowledge system. The personality variables are referred to or referred under what we call rave psychology. These are the personality conscious aspects. Through my lens, and Ra, I think, also had this sensation, at least in my reading of his work, is that it is far more tangible and easier to align with the design variable than it is the personality variable, because there is so much complex conditioning around the mind, psychology, and all of that intertwine into the personality. So that can be very, very tricky to unpick, which is why I really like to focus on the design side, because if you leverage the vehicle and you get the vehicle in alignment according to its imprint and design, the personality has got the correct construct to ride around in and is more likely to be motivated and have the perspective that is correct for the personality. So where does the variable arrows come from? They are derived from what we call tonal fixing, and this is specifically underlying the Sun-Earth placements on the design side and the North Node and South Node placements also on the design side with respect to the design variable. We also then go into another bit of detail and a bit of lingo, and this is lower trigram, upper trigram. So this is to do with the fact that we have 6 lines. We're going to go into this in a couple of slides, or maybe the next slide. 6 lines. We have underneath those 6 lines, we have 6 colors. This is all substructure. This is deeper architecture and human design, if this is the first time you're hearing this. Underneath the 6 colors, we have 6 tones which fix the colors left or right. And then underneath that, we have the base, but we only have 5 bases. Not a topic for today. So those 6 are then further split into what we call lower and upper trigram. So 1 through 3 is lower trigram. Upper trigram is 4 through 6. And this language is with respect to the color and the tone, like at each level. It's not just tonal language. So if you've got a tonal fixing, if your tone is 1, 2, or 3, you are going to be orientated left. You will score a left-facing arrow, such as the top arrow on this diagram right here. Use my pointer. If you are tonal number 4, 5, or 6, you will get a right-facing arrow. This is going to end up with right fixing. And the fixing is with respect to the color. So another layer, which is underneath the line. This will be in a couple of slides. So what all this does is it adds specificity to internal and external determination. So in primary health system, these variable arrows here are actually telling, the top one is telling us the story of our internal determination, and the lower arrow is our external determination. We're going to go into this in a little bit more detail. So as I've tried to explain, tone gives an orientation to color because the frequency of the neutrino stream travels from the base through. So we go from the base, it then goes through the tone, the color, the line, and the surface. Okay, variable map. So this is the variable map, or as Ra affectionately called it within the PHS classes, the magic box. He found this very, very fascinating in his later years because it added a whole other interesting layer, not only to each individual design, but also into what pulls different aura types to each other, different people to each other. And a lot of those answers, if they're not obvious in the body graph, they will actually be here in your variable. So what I wanted to mostly just highlight here, this phenomenon that I was speaking about in the previous slide, this line, color, tone, base. So the neutrino stream is running from the base of the crystal all the way up from tone, color. That's the direction it's moving. So it has to pass through the tone before it passes through the color. And this is what gives the color its fixing. What on earth do I mean by color? You need the advanced software to get this depth of detail in your own body graph or your own chart. So you've either paid for that software or you are getting your readings done through a human design reader or analyst. And they may or may not go into this detail with you. But this is the most advanced placement information that you can get currently. This is mine. This is my design details, and it's showing you all the gates where all of my planets are placed on my design side. So this was imprinted 88 days before birth. My design was complete. The personality was then completed after that. So we have got here the sun, the earth, north node, and south node. Now I have got my sun in gate 43. Gate 43 in the placement of, in the fifth line of gate 43. This is what I love about human design, the specificity as you go through. It's very precise, particularly with respect to variable, primary health system, rave psychology. You really need to have as accurate birth data as possible. It can be within 15-minute windows. It's really important, particularly if you are sitting at a transition point between two tones or two colors. It's the more accurate you can be, the better, because, and with the advanced software, it'll actually tell you the reliability of the birth data based on where you end up getting placed if it's at one of those transition points. So my gate 43 is at line 5. Color, 6th color, first tone. That first tone is fixing my 6th color left, which is why I've got the left arrow, because we've got lower trigram, and the 3 is the base. Okay, and you'll see that it's the same for the earth placement as well. 5th line, 6th color, first tone, 3rd base. And the 6th color in this particular placement, this is also what gives us our so-called dietary regimen or our internal determination. 6th color is light. And because I have a first tone fixing my color, first tone will give me direct light. If I had a 4, 5, or 6 at this tonal level, I would be indirect. And this goes to show how important this information is to be accurate. Because, for example, with my dietary regimen, my digestive type, my internal determination, all the same thing, it is saying that I am a direct light digestive type, that I am best to eat when it is daylight hours. I'm a daytime eater. Now, if you're indirect, you're a nighttime eater. Now, if you get these things topsy-turvy, that's a big deal in the system of human design, because you are going to be feeding your brain either correctly or not. Your brain is your gateway to your cognition, and we are here to be cognizant. That is the whole point. And we are here to have a brain that functions uniquely for how we are supposed to see and navigate the world. So, not that your mind is not navigating the world. The mind is not. This is a brain function. This is the vehicle. Don't get it all messed up. And so that's why it's so important. And that's why I've got this left arrow fixing here. Just for the sake of completion, if we just jump down into the nodes, which is my external determination, you can see that I've got third color, fifth tone, 4, 5, 6. That's the upper trigram. That is going to give me right fixing. The arrow is facing right. And in the sense of external determination, this is also our environment in human design. For me, being a third color, this is kitchen's environment. Now, what type of kitchen environment? Tone is going to tell me, in this particular case, wet or dry. And left is wet, right is dry. I happen to be a dry kitchen environment. So there you go. So just coming back over here, there are 16, this is the variable map. There are 16 different types of variable walking around out there. And what's really interesting about this is, if you think about it, up until now, everyone has mostly got really interested in just knowing if they're one of the 4 types: generator, projector, manifestor, or reflector. It's like, woo, that's telling me everything about myself. Ooh, what are you? What are you? And you are putting yourself in a massive box of people, and that's very homogenizing. So if we step even just from there, of course, you've then got your authority, which is going to sieve you out into a slightly smaller box. But when you think about the global population, it's still a pretty big box. When we go to variable, you are then getting a really interesting spectrum of 16 different possible combinations across all of the aura types. So every projector has the potential to have any one of these 16. Same with every generator. So you can have a generator and a projector that have the same variable, but very, very dramatically different strategies, for example, and aura types. So, but we start to see why a particular projector and a particular generator might vibe with each other, because they will probably have some commonality here in their variable map. I think that's all I was going to talk about on this particular slide, which was a lot. Let's move on. Okay, determination. So this is the word that Ra has given. It determines the primary health system, and it's determining your dietary regimen, your internal determination, the inside, and the external determination, your external environment. And this is a big point that has really been overlooked. People just think, oh, I just need to know what my environment is, and I need to go and live there and work there and exist there. And this extra bit is so important. The external determination is really, really related to, more importantly, where you interface with the other. Environments that are supportive for you to have the opportunity to come across others that are going to be good for you. Opportunities that are going to be in alignment for you. They are going to happen in your correct environment. It's not just about, I need to be in this environment and just sort of see what happens. Internal, this is very much about brain. This point is so important to really disengage from when we talk about mind. Mind is like not self, the Maya, the program, the illusion, all of our beliefs, behaviors, our not self-conditioning. The brain is a physical structure inside the head that runs the mechanics, the hormonal system, the autonomic nervous system. It's running this machine, the brain. And yes, of course, it's got a vast neuronal network for thinking, but let's keep that more on the mind aspect. Let's just think of the brain as the supercomputer of this whole vehicle. Cognition, the way that brain is wired to particularly take in is very, very important and a big part of your internal determination. And because of that, how that brain gets fed is very, very important, because that brain, because it's unique, it needs a particular substrate and needs a certain fuel base in order to actually fulfill its potential. And this is why we talk about the digestive types in human design. And I want you to just pull a little bit further into that idea of internal, what we take in. So also start broadening that out into taking in the other, taking in information, and think about how your vehicle is designed to intake. Then the external is our nodes. This is the north and south node placement. It's the lower arrow on the design side. And this is related to your external, the environment with which your body is navigating the world in. And this is the story of the nodes. The nodes is the movement through the life. This is sort of more the physical body and its interaction with the other, which is really key. Just checking my time. All right, so let's dive into this in a little bit more detail. And my intention here is not to lose you. There is a lot of, this is potentially very new for some of you. If you're here or if you're watching the replay at some stage in the future, there is a lot of specific language in human design that can get very confusing. So I've tried to just keep this as simple and practical as possible. So we're going to just break this down sort of step by step, and hopefully my intention is to give you something really tangible that doesn't leave you feeling overwhelmed, but some really interesting keynotes that you can take away from this masterclass and apply within your own experiment to your own design, depending on wherever you're at in that process. So our left internal, active strategic. Let's really land into these keynotes. Now, what I've highlighted here is we're talking about the design. So again, this whole top, all of these rows here, no, these are columns. I always get this mixed up. These are columns. So the columns are the personality side. That's the conscious. Don't focus there. That's not the point of our focus today. We're really going to be focusing on these. Now, what is this DLL, DLR, DRL? Design, left, left. Top arrow is left. Bottom arrow is left. Design, left, right. Top arrow is left. Bottom arrow is right. DLR. Next one, DRL. Top arrow is right. R. Bottom arrow is left. L. Okay. All right. Especially if this is new, it can be a bit to get your brain around. Your brain, not your mind. Let your mind be free. Okay, so internal sun earth, and we're talking about the active strategic. We're talking about left facing upper arrows. Again, brain, cognition, digestion. So if you are an active strategic brain, you have got what Ra really like to term busy brain. This is a brain that needs to be busy, that is designed to be busy, that has activity going on all the time. So it was really refreshing to come across this because, you know, I think that there's so much in the self-development space and in the well-being space of like, everybody needs to meditate, everybody needs to quiet their mind. Yes, that kind of not self-talk, that ego, self-sabotage, that sort of stuff, yes. But for those of us, and I'm one of them, that has this left fixation, that is active, strategic, busy brain, it's going to be really, really hard and quite unnatural for you to not be thinking when you're awake. It's just what your mind, your brain is here to do. Your brain is really busy and it's going to look for things to think about. If you have an open head, that's a whole other level. So if you can imagine, if you've got a really busy brain, and particularly it's quite strategic, it's a real problem solving, figuring it out, survival orientated brain. This really kind of left, primal, older version of us that we're kind of moving away from. This is a brain that needs to find things to solve, needs to find things to do. It's a brain that is really good at focusing. It's a brain that is designed for the institutionalized school system that we've created. So we'll get to the right guys soon. But it's a brain that is really good at focusing, taking in a lot of information, but only focused, not like taking it all in a receptive way. I don't want to go too far down that road. So the interesting point about this is that if you can imagine a brain that's really, really busy, that brain is going to burn through a lot of calories. That brain has got a high metabolic demand. That brain needs a lot of fuel, and it needs regular fuel. And this is really, really important, and something that I recognize in my own journey with fasting, for example, another area out there that's quite homogenized in the health and wellness space. Fasting is really good for everybody. And there's, of course, different types of fasting. There's lots of benefits within different fasting regimes. But if you have a left active brain, excuse me, if you have a left active brain, then you are going to need more calories. You're going to need to eat more frequently because you are driving through those calories. That brain is consuming a lot. The brain is the highest consumer of glucose in our body. So if that brain's working extra, you're going to need extra. It's not permission to eat junk. It means that you are probably more the type that will be snacking, that kind of eats a lot and is able to eat a lot and seems to metabolize okay and not gain weight. Bit different for a right brain. So that's the main point that I wanted to make about the internal left. Let's move on. Right internal. So we're moving down here on the magic box diagram. All of these upper arrows, we're still on the internal, are right facing. This is this whole section of all these people, and then they've got all these different combinations underneath. But the main thing that they have in common, they have all got this upper right arrow. These are, I hate the word passive, but it is in the keynotes, passive receptive. When you think of brain, I think it's better to think of as the word receptive. Again, this is the opposite of active. We've moved from the left to the right. This is about a brain that is just taking it all in and is not designed to have a specific focus. So these brains in a classroom where they're kind of being forced to focus on one area, they might be taking in, for example, let's just say it's a young group of students and it's even just looking at a picture, and they're being asked to look for something specific in that picture. Like they will look at that picture and it's almost like this amazing thing of photographic memory. They will take all of it in. Whereas the left brain child will really be focusing on specific areas and may not be able to describe the picture well. But if you take that left kid and that right kid away outside and ask them what they saw, they're going to give you very, very different descriptions. And the right brain is going to give you a really detailed description when it's prompted. But if you tell that right brain child to look for something specific in that picture, they're going to be less good at doing that than the left, because the left is really geared for focus. So the receptive takes it all in, and this is really, really beautiful, but it is really out of kilter with the mainstream institutionalized school-based system that we have. So we're really doing these right brain folk a big injustice, particularly with examination processes. They can be really discriminated against, and this hasn't been intentional. And this is all just coming through as we're moving through towards 2027 and moving towards this rightness. We're seeing more and more of these brains and these different neurodivergent, maybe, ways of thinking and taking in information. The beautiful thing is these right brains are very much kind of encyclopedic. Like they will take in at a level completely superior to a left, but they get trapped in their ability to regurgitate or reproduce what they've actually taken in. There can be a real barrier there, particularly if they've been conditioned, they haven't followed their dietary regimen, and their cognition has been impaired or locked out because of that process. Again, as I mentioned briefly, this is a less active brain. So the metabolic requirement will be less. These guys might find that they cope much better with prolonged periods of fasting because they don't have that demand of the brain like the left folk do. Let's move down to the external now. So we're going to the lower arrow. We're going to start with the left again. So as you can see, I've circled these groups, but they've moved a little bit. So but what they'll all have in common is they've all got a left-facing lower arrow, all of them, with all this other interesting variability, in between. So left external, again, we've got this theme of active. And I wanted to add in this keynote of observed because that is what's actually used in the variable system within the human design system. Observed meaning if you are in a piazza, I live in Italy, so if you're in the piazza, there is people that are doing things in the piazza and there's people that are sitting watching and having a coffee. And so these are the doers. These are the busy guys. Their body is busy. They're busy in their environment. Now, this is really important to understand. We're going to get into this a little bit more, but I'll just throw it in there now. So we've got a left busy body in their environment person, but they've got a receptive brain. You can see that there's a little bit of disconnection there and conflict there. We'll get into that. That's where the fun stuff starts to happen. Also, interactions with the other in the environment. These guys are going to be the ones that are like making things happen, doing all the stuff, doing stuff with other people. So if you get two of these actives left externals together, great. They're going to be busy together. Fantastic. Works really well for them. If you get one with a right who is supposed to be observing, as long as they get to watch that active person, that's great. But if the active person expects the right fixed external to be getting involved in all the busyness, conflict again. So it's so important to know your type. And when we give ourselves permission, you will find that your body actually knows what it is. This will resonate. But unfortunately, we're so conditioned into the left that that is really what tends to predominate and what's like socially acceptable and what we think how we should be behaving. All right, let's drop down into the right external. So now we've moved to these guys that all have right facing lower design arrows. So this person, like this whole group along here, they're all right facing. They're all observers. This is actually my configuration. I have a right external, as we saw a couple of slides ago. This is the passive observer. Oh, what a life to be a passive observer. Sounds delightful, right? You're the one that gets to sit in the piazza with your coffee and just watch the world go by and don't really need to do anything about it. That is you in your correctness. Life comes to you. But as blissful as that sounds, it's just not the way our world works. It's not acceptable. All of the observed active people are going, get off your ass and do something. And we are not supposed to, in essence. And this doesn't mean that we're lazy. It's just how we are out in the world, in the environment, and particularly with the other. When you're alone, you can be active. It doesn't mean you're supposed to be lazy. It's not laziness. It's about how you interact with life, how you allow life, people, invitations, opportunities, and circumstances to come to you. You're not the one out there making it happen. And if you look at the more surface strategy authority layer of human design, this makes a lot of sense because so many of the designs are supposed to wait. Generators are supposed to wait. They're waiting to respond. Projectors, a very obvious one. Wait for the invitation. Ours is literally spelt out for us. Wait for the invitation. Reflectors, wait for the lunar cycle. Wait out your lunar cycle. The only ones that are really okay to kind of initiate at all would be the manifestors, but they still have to inform and initiate. So you can see that this like aspect of waiting and not forcing and pushing, it is also present in variable. This is the substructure. This is what is informing that surface. It's all coming together. All right. So when brain and body collide, this is when it starts to get really interesting. And in Ra's material on all of this variable stuff, he really talks about some of the very challenging combinations that can happen. Now, there's challenging combinations just when you've got a left and a right on the design side, kind of they're going to already feel in the vehicle like, oh, this is a little bit in conflict. I'm getting pulled in two directions. You add the personality into that, and it can be really complex to navigate. And so variable, particularly for projectors, as I mentioned, this is such a powerful lever in your experiment, particularly because you're otherwise, like with your strategy, it's like waiting. Like there just seems to be lots of spaciousness in your experiment. It's like, what can I anchor to? Variable is something that you can anchor to. It's very powerful. So let's look at some of these kind of fun collisions. And I've put a box around a group here. This is when we're getting this mix of leftness and rightness. I have this, and I had to really delve quite deep into the knowledge to start to understand, well, what if I'm left and right? You know, in a lot of the earlier PHS material, it's just left or right. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm both on the design side. And so I'm with you guys. This is, it's something to really get your brain and your body around so they're actually working together. So the central four, if we look at these four here, and I'm going to touch on this in a couple of slides. Ra described these four here. This is really the real mutation melting pot. These are the really interesting ones, as he said. Just the combination. This means the combination of design and personality together, the whole mix. But if you just look at all of these, you've got this LR or RL on the design side. There's like this conflict or polarity, depending on how you want to look at it, how you want to frame it. So as an example, and I've got a slide showing this as a good example as well. Imagine that you're a generator and you have a left internal and a right external. So you could be this generator. You could also be this generator. You could be any of these, you see, because all we're specifying is a left internal and a right external. So you could be any of these other combinations as well. If you've got the left internal, you've got that active strategic brain that really needs a focus and work versus a body that is correct when being passive. And this is what I was kind of talking about. This generator, if you're told in a surface level human design reading and you stop there in your experiment that, oh, you know, you're a generator, sacral energy, you're designed to work, like you can just go and work, and you're here to work. And yeah, until you have a right fixed variable in your external determination. And that's when you've got a body that is supposed to actually be passive in its environment. How do you reconcile that? So you're not designed to get out there and do, even though you've apparently got this sacral design, you're a sacral authority generator. So this is where suddenly you're like, yeah, I didn't feel like I really fit that generator story fully. And maybe you don't. And the answers lie in variable. This is why substructure, sub-architecture, going deeper into your design is so important. But you can't go there straight away. You do have to start to navigate the surface first and then start delving in. But don't wait too long before you delve in, particularly, again, for projectors. It was a game changer in my journey. So let's have a little bit of a look here. We're going to go through a couple of different body graphs here. This is a manifester. So we're going to go through this as an example. So we've got a 1-4 emotional manifester. This is an emotional manifester. We've got the solar plexus defined. We've got an undefined sacral. We have got a motor connection to the throat. So we have got a manifester. Now, the profile lines are derived from the lines in the design and the personality. And we have got a 4th line body or unconscious. Now, what is 4th line? We know this from surface stuff. Because it's the same. It's the opportunist, the networker. So instead of just thinking of this as a personality trait, it's a vehicle trait. It's an unconscious trait, this opportunist networker. The first line is the conscious. This is the investigator. So great. This is someone that, likes to go deep, focus. Fortunately for them, brilliant. They have an active, strategic brain that likes to think. So as an investigator, those things go well together. But then we get to this fourth line body, the opportunist networker. Now, I used to be so envious of opportunist networker, anyone with a fourth line, because it was like these guys, social media, the online coaching business world, it's your jam. The organic marketing, it's your jam because you are naturally a networker. You're designed for it. Until you realize that you have right external fixation and that you're not supposed to go out and make the network happen. So let's break this down. So we've got an upper left active strategic brain. Great, awesome, or not. It's fine. It is what it is. It's design. The lower right, observer, passive. So with the other, meaning other humans, it's really important that this particular manifestor allow the opportunities and the network to come to her. She's not supposed to go out there making the connections, getting in the DMs. She can respond when those people seek her out. She will naturally be a networking kind of person, but she's not supposed to be getting in people's faces out there and making it happen, going across in the piazza and introducing herself to someone. No, someone's supposed to come to her. Isn't that beautiful? She's there to magnetize those invitations. Now, this was really interesting because this particular person, she was really working quite hard to get an online coaching business off the ground. And she was doing so many of the right things, amazing content, like a great niche, and it just was not happening. And also, she was using an organic marketing strategy. So she was actually wanting to, just pull people in organically. And it just wasn't happening. And there was nothing particularly wrong. Great content, great niche, doing all the things, showing up daily, doing all those things that maybe someone with a fourth line left, which can go out and do it all and grab the people and get in the DMs. But for her, no, that wasn't working. She put that work aside for a bit and just lived life. This is the story of our nodes. You just start to just live your life, go with the flow, align with life, what life is bringing to you. And then she got an amazing opportunity to manage a bricks and mortar business. And it just came from nowhere. It wasn't something that she was looking for, but it's a great fit for her life right now. And it's like, bang, that's the human design magic. When you are just allowing, you're in alignment with your design, and your design will speak for itself. And you don't have to come at it with the mind and make it happen. She didn't go, oh, I'm a passive opportunist networker. I'm just going to go and sit in the piazza all day. Because that's the mind telling you that that's how it looks. But when you don't know, and when you just allow life and you just focus on your strategy and authority and surface every day, but understand, okay, well, I'm not supposed to kind of force these things and be the instigator, be the observed. I am the observer. Let's watch life. The correct opportunities come. Life meets you. Life flows. This is the story. Next slide. Did I jump too far? Nope. Okay, good. Next one. Another example. This is a 5-1 splenic projector. Okay, it's a projector because we have an undefined sacral, and yeah, projectors are way more tricky to understand their body graph, but this is a projector. 5-1 defined spleen. And the first line body. So same sort of exercise we did with the last body graph. This is a first line body. So something really interesting with the investigator body. This is a body, you think, when we look at the lines, the most primitive is 1, and I don't, yeah, it's tricky to use that language, but the idea is that, you know, we kind of go from 1 and we evolve through to 6. We're moving in that direction. We're moving towards rightness. So 1, it's a real primal body that really does need to feel secure in its environment. This is a really important nuance because that might not be obvious at a surface level of the design. So it needs to feel secure in their environment. This is a DRR or DRR. This is a design right. So both arrows are facing right in the design variable. So it's beautiful because there is at least a sense of synchronicity here, that the brain and the body are kind of orientated the same way, but it's not easy to be right. So this is a passive, receptive, observing kind of human being. And what, you know, beautiful, yes, it's also a projector. So very important for this projector to be able to be its full expression as a projector. I can say he, it's a he in this case, needs to be more receptive, needs to be more observing, because projectors are here to see what the others don't see, to see new efficiencies, new ways of doing things, new ways of being, how to use energy. This is the projector guiding system in its expression. And so in a way, it's like, wow, you know, you are this projector that gets to be so receptive and observing of the world. Except the world is not very friendly and accommodating to receptive, observing kinds of people, because we're all out there needing to make it happen, needing to do everything. Don't sit on your ass. So this person is challenged in life because what they're being told to do, what they're seeing everyone else do, the success they see everyone else have is in the doing. It's being active, being strategic, and that goes against this person's design. But rightness is where we're all moving to. So as challenging as this may be in the world we live in right now, from 2027, we're at least going to see a background frequency shift that is going to be more favorable to the right, which I just got chills. Thank goodness. And it's just the way that the evolutionary stream is moving. So as we're moving to rightness, what is rightness? Rightness is ravenous. So let me just check the time again. Keeping well to time. Evolutionary movement to rightness and raveness. So I want to actually go back a couple of slides because I didn't tease out the thing that I really wanted to tease out. We just go all the way back here. This is the plainest one. If we look at the top here, as Ra described it, evolution is moving across this variable map or this magic box from the top here down. So I used to kind of think of this in a bit of a crude way, and my partner is a quad left. So these guys are the most like primal, old school human mechanics that we have. They are active, strategic. That's how they run their life and the world. And it's really been our story. But all of these other variations and this rightness has been coming more and more into being since 1781. So we're starting to see these interesting combinations. And we have all of these present in the world right now, including what is the opposite extreme if we're moving in an evolutionary wave through this structure in this way. We are moving to the quad right. So this is termed a quad left. This is one extreme. PLL, DLL, so you're all left. Personality left, design left. All the way down here, we've got PRR, DRR, and you are personality right. You are design right. And all the rest of us are somewhere in between, trying to navigate these extremes in a world that is really designed for the left. And as I mentioned, Ra had sort of said, these 4 particular variable types in the middle here are the real mutation lever points. These are the ones that are actually carrying that mutation potential as we move towards the right. The other thing that was said, if we skip forward again to our projector, I think that you'll be able to see this in the recording, but I'm just going to move for my sake. Where are you? So as you can see here, hopefully, we have got 1, 2, 3 right-facing arrows and 1 left-facing arrow. So even though there is 1 left-facing arrow, Ra had said that if you've even got 1 right-facing arrow and 3 left-facing arrows, that right is going to speak really strongly because it's where we're going. It's their evolutionary potential. So the fact that this individual has 3 rights, that rightness is going to be very, very ripe in them. And it's going to overcharge that small leftness which they have in their view or perception, which is on the personality side. And we can have people that are the opposite of this. But that rightness is a real draw. The conflict that we have is that we have a society, a background frequency that is really, I don't even want to say favoring leftness. It just is. It just has been. And that's all going to shift. Okay, so if we go, yeah, here we are. So evolutionary movement. So we're moving to rightness, and this is a beautiful ending of this particular variable masterclass and an introduction into the next masterclass installment, which is all about the rave new world that is emerging into our future. And the raves are going to have a different awareness, are going to bring forth a different awareness and way of being that we have not yet experienced in this bioform as Homo sapiens or Homo sapien in transitus, because in transitus is this 9-centered body that we actually have now and have had since 1781. Prior to that, we were 7-centered left. That was our story. And unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately, we're carrying all the imprint, all the genetic memory of that story into a transitory form right now that has the potential of what the rave will get, but we're like in the middle. So we're going to talk about raves. What are raves? How are they going to be different? Whatever information that Ra managed to bring forth about raves and what is coming and how they're going to operate so differently to us. And this really interesting period of time where we're going to be coexisting together. That's sort of the last of the leftness, and as the rightness is really gaining, I don't want to say supremacy. It's not about that. The raves won't be interested in that. They're going to be completely different to what has motivated us. Plus, we have the background frequency shift. So that's also going to completely change even how we operate as humans. So that is it. That closes this masterclass on variable. I really hope that this was illuminating in ways that you didn't expect. I hope that I delivered it in a way that makes you see human design in such a new light and the power of the depth within this system, what is available to really tap into, to fully express and anchor into your uniqueness, and the importance of these aspects in particular for projectors in their conditioning journey. Variable is a really powerful anchor through your deconditioning journey in particular, because it gives you a sense of what to do with this body while you're waiting for the invitations to come along, because there's so much more spaciousness in our journey and in our process. So I hope that has been useful. And if anything has come to light or any reflections or questions you might want to share, please reach out to me through Instagram is generally the best way. Or if you're receiving this via email, you can respond to the email and just say, hey, can you kind of illuminate this aspect a little bit more, or this bit's a little bit stuck for me. If you do want a personal session where we can dive into this in more detail, you can get in touch with me and we can book that in. I love to go into people's variable mapping and particularly their PHS, the internal determination, your dietary type, your environment, and how those things work together or are maybe not working together right now. And hopefully I will see you in a rave new world, the next masterclass. See you then. Ciao.